Welcome to the 2019 Tour de France Stage 10 preview. Okay, guys, this is the last stage before the first rest day, which actually comes a little bit late this year. So all these guys are really tired. Okay, now today we had a little bit less action than I was expecting. Right, the Bastille Day, the French did not fire. Okay, um, but tomorrow we have a 217-kilometer stage, and we're going south again. We're going finishing in the town of ALBI, which, if you have not been to ALBI, you need to get on a plane immediately this summer and check it out because it's one of my favorite towns in Europe. The old quarter, the cathedral, the castle, I mean, the Romanesque architecture, I mean, real kind of medieval, feel to the place, and highly recommended for food and architecture. So we're going south, right? We're going, and Albi area is like famous for like this, like volcanic rocks everywhere. The terrain is still very undulating for most of the day. We're kind of still, skirting the Massif Central, going south. Um, so very undulating, right? Up and down. It gets a little bit flatter as we get closer to Albi, around 25 kilometers to go, right? But the first part of the stage is very undulating. We have four climbs. We have three category threes and one category four. I'm not expecting the polka dot jersey fight because there's not enough climbs. Threes and fours only carry 2 points and 1 point, so really kind of not enough for it to entice somebody like Sandro Maes or somebody like Ciccioni or Tim Wellens, the leader, or Thomas de Gent, right? I think that fight is gonna uh, resume again on the when we go into Pyrenees, right? This is where the fight is going to go on full swing. So I think this stage is not really for a polka dot jersey fight. Now, with that said, I mean, first I'm looking at it. First part of the stage, up until 104 kilometers, is literally like a saw, right? I mean, up and down all day in categorized climb, uncategorized climbs all over the place. Um, the question for the stage, right? We've asked that question many times before, all right? Whether the sprinter teams will ride, how much will the early breakaway get in terms of a gap, and whether all the teams will get involved into a chase, or the teams, the Sunweb and Bora for Michael Mathews and Peter Sagan, will try to drop some of the pure sprinters in the early part of the stage. That's really um, the question of the day. Now, usually I would probably say the day 10, no rest, that the teams just want to survive, right? Usually. But tomorrow, they're going to Albi, right? And the following day, right? So Tuesday is a rest day, and there's no transfer, right? They don't have to transfer because they're starting from Albi on Wednesday. And Wednesday stage is almost like a pancake flat. So it's going to be for pure sprinters. So I'm thinking that sprinters teams will want to control, and that we may see this Sunweb train and Bora train to go out, and probably Lotto Jumbo train to go out to try to shake off some of the weaker guys, right? Like Calabuen, Elia Viviani, and Christoph, right? Could be with a little bit of some effort drop on this terrain, especially first 105 kilometers. Then the middle section uh, of maybe about 60 kilometers is pretty undulating as well. So there's definitely going to be a chance if the guy want to chase, right? Early breakaway guys. right? The first candidate is the homeboy, right? And by what I mean by homeboy is the guy that actually was born and grew up in ALBI, right? And who is that? It's our kamikaze attacker Frenchman, Julien Calmajane, right? He will fancy the stage, perhaps a little bit flatter than he would want to be, right? Because he's more, you probably like a little bit more hills. But it doesn't mean that he can't go on an attack in a day, on a day where, the Tour de France caravan is coming into his town. Stranger things have happened, and the break, although he has a low chance of survival, who knows? So that would be my first pick for attack. Watch for Calmajane to go out there. Julien would be another one. Julien Martin, right, would be another Frenchman that could fancy his chances. Of course, Rosetto and Ofredo, the suicide attack duo, right? I'm thinking maybe Geschke or Oskop for CCC, right? Smaller teams will be on the attack tomorrow, even though they pretty much have no chance of staying to the finish just to show off the jersey, the sponsor, grab some francs on, francs and points on the climbs, get some points for a sprint finish, get some francs there. So, don't get a penalty for peeing in public, right? I don't know if you know, but I checked the penalties so far by the commissaires, and the largest amount of penalties in this Tour de France is being given for peeing in public, right? So I thought that was kind of really interesting, and there's a long list. I think now like 20-something guys were penalized, right? And the penalties are like 160 euros, man, right? So my question is, I wonder who pays for those penalties. The riders pay for them or the team, right? I mean, can you just imagine like the families having lunch and cheese and all of that, and it's Bastille Day, and all of a sudden some guy pulls up and trying to pee? Right? 160 euros. Anyway, interesting. Who else? Getting serious now. Who else? Julien Simon, although he was in a break yesterday. He's always a good bet. Roskop, right? For CCC, I mentioned him already. Michael Schar, right? For CCC. Also, Kofidis could be out there. I don't know how Tepstra is feeling. Right, he could be out there. Again, it's in stages like this, it's hard to tell. But I think after yesterday, right? I think Sunweb must be feeling really frustrated, right? Because they really had a chance, I thought, with Nicholas Roach yesterday, and I thought they really messed up. For the reason why, I thought he was, he was one of the best, right? He was definitely one of the strongest. It's just a tactic issue there. So I'm really thinking they're just just itching for that win. And Michael Mathews might be feeling a little bit better about this whole fast men sprint. He's definitely not winning the pure sprinter sprint. No way. But fast men sprint, he actually beat all the guys on stage 8. Right, he actually won the sprint for the third place. So for the third or fourth place. So must be feeling a little bit more confident. So who knows, right? Peter Sagan will be in a mix. We'll see if Bora chases or not. For fantasy guys, by far the safest pick. Usually the people that take the risk, right, get either lucky or unlucky, but usually the middle of the road pick is always good for Peter Sagan. The reason why Peter Sagan is always good is because even if Sunweb and Bora and de Kooning don't ride hard, just ride hard enough to control the break, but not hard enough to get rid of the pure sprinter, he's still one of the top 3, 4 fastest guys in that group. So he's a safer bet. He's a, either way, he's a safe bet. He's kind of like a nice middle of the road bet, right? But who's the, who's the really hungry guy out there, right? And I think there are two really hungry guys, right? I think Caleb Ewan came within inches the other day, literally inches, right, of Groenewegen, right? So I think he's itching for that stage win, right? For that elusive Tour de France stage win, and I think he may be close tomorrow, and it may be his day. The problem with this thought is that Caleb Ewan, when you look at the camera early in the stage, the camera that follows the riders that are being dropped off, he's always dropped off first, right? So literally the first sprinter to go off on both of the days, right, was Caleb Ewan. So again, here's the choice for Sunweb, he's the choice for Bora, and he's the choice for Jumbo. What do we do, right? Remember, Jumbo has 2 options, or 3, right? 3 options. They have the options for fast sprint with for pure sprinters, right? With Groenewegen and with Tinius, right? Although Tinius is kind of hurt right now because he crashed with TJ Van Garden. But they also have an option in Van Aert, right? So, they have 2 options, right? So again, question is, what does Sunweb and what does Bora do to attempt to eliminate 4 guys that are usually the fastest? 4 guys. Groenewegen is the man to beat. Viviani is the second man to beat. Colin Ewan is the 3rd guy, and Alexander Kristoff is the 4th guy. Those to me are the 4 fastest guys in a pure sprint out there. Okay. So this is going to be a real question. I don't think Greg Van Avermaet, I keep mentioning his name, but I really think there was a big disappointment yesterday. I don't think he's going to fancy his chances, even from the group of fast men. Maybe if Sunweb rides, Bora rides, maybe one Survival somehow from CCC rides, although I just don't see CCC being this strong of a team, right? DeMarchi was really strong, but he crashed, and Greg Van Avermaet is very powerful. He just doesn't have a team around him. So we'll see what's going to happen if he kind of has a crack at it at the breakaway late, because in a sprint finish, it's going to be another top 10, but there's not going to be a win. So the question is, again, who wants a bet, right? My favorites, my prediction for the stage tomorrow, I think there's an early break. I think they go pretty far. I think that Sunweb and I think that Bora and Jumbo, right, and De Koning only chase to control the brakes gap, right, but don't go too hard. And I think they keep their sprinters in the pack, or if 1 or 2 sprinters drop, I think they make it back by the time of the finish, because the closer to the finish, the flatter it gets. And I think we are going to see a fast, pure sprinters make it to ALBI and contest for sprint. Usual guys, literally. So my favorites again, Caleb Ewan, he wants it better now. Viviani, right? He had a flat on that finish, so he needs to be competitive. Contractier, right? Groenewegen, right? Probably the fastest guy in the peloton. Nizolo, Van Aert, Kristoff, Sagan, Mathews, Stuyven, Van Avermaet, right? These guys will be there for sure. Bonifacio is another guy. Maybe the Gorilla cracks the top 10 finally. If I were to say one guy only, right? Boy, Here we go again, right? I'm going to say Caleb Ewan, right? I think Caleb Ewan fights all day tomorrow. I think early on he gets dropped, but he makes it back by there's a climb at 164 kilometers. There's a climb. The climb comes 36, 46, 55K from the finish. It has a steeper section. The beginning of 1K is at 8-9%. So that might give him problems. But after that, it's mostly downhill, so I think he'll make it. He'll fight back. Caleb Ewan will fight back, and in the end, he will win. I checked out the last kilometer, right? The last kilometer of the stage, and it is slightly uphill. So there's really no problems in a finish in ALBI. The roads are a little bit not as wide, but the surface is good and there's no crazy turns. But the last 1 kilometer is slightly uphill, and that may help Caleb Ewan. So I'm taking Caleb Ewan. He's my 5-star pick. I think top 3 tomorrow is Caleb Ewan. I think Gunnewagen and I think Viviani are going to make the top 3. All right, guys, I'm curious about your picks for tomorrow's Stage 2 ALBI, right? If you like the channel, hit like. If you like the video, hit like. If you like the channel in all, subscribe. I'm thinking about doing different things with live coverage, thinking about doing a channel, right, dedicated to cycling throughout the year, or through, to pro cycling racing coverage, okay? I'm looking at the Pro Cycling Manager right now to get into that as well. Somebody recommended it on the, on the comments. So yeah, just curious about what you think, what your predictions are for the Tour de France, what your stage predictions are. What do you think about the route? Curious even about your writing, schedule. So yeah, just leave me some comments, leave me some questions, and keep writing. All right. Thanks.